What's going on, everyone? I am the Zoomer Value Investor. Today I'm very excited to present to you guys a video. This video is going to be about how the gaming market has become increasingly more monopolized as the years have begun, and how few companies have started to make more and more acquisitions under kind of the leeway of capitalism and just been able to just swallow up the market. I think it's a really interesting topic, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Today in this video, we are going to be focusing primarily on two companies. One, Tencent, which is headquartered in China, and one which is Microsoft, that is headquartered in the United States. I also really want to talk about these three other companies: Sony, Nintendo, and Disney. So Sony, they've been having a slew of problems with their new PlayStation line, getting those rolled out, especially amidst the chip shortage. Sony's also been in a number of IP disputes in the past few years, as well as Sony is having debt issues. But Sony still remains such a large competitor in the gaming space because of things such as PlayStation and original titles. Nintendo has original consoles of its own as well as original titles. That definitely keeps it around. It is going to be a contender in the gaming space, making its original content out of Japan. Disney and Disney Interactive, they definitely have a number of IP that they like to monetize into gaming, but they have been historically quite bad at it, and their games have been kind of reviewed quite poorly. An example that comes to mind is the latest Kingdom of Hearts game. But as you can see, even a significant company like a Take-Two Interactive is nowhere close to the size of something like a Tencent or a Microsoft, and all these are such smaller players, like a Warner Brothers Interactive. It's so much smaller compared to like a Microsoft or a Tencent. As well as you have to consider a company like Epic Games. It's like 40% of it is owned by Tencent anyway. Another example is C Limited. 25% of that is owned by Tencent anyway. A company like this, it just owns so much of the world. It's the same thing with Microsoft. We're going to get into that here in this video. So Microsoft's always been a giant on its own accord, kind of in the gaming space, because of titles like the Halo title, a number of other original Xbox titles, as well as the original console of the Xbox. Now, while all these have been successes, Microsoft's been very great at making acquisitions in the gaming sphere to kind of make it one of the most dominant, well, it is the most dominant gaming company in the Western Hemisphere of the world. It really essentially all started here in September 2014 when they purchased Mojang for $2.5 billion. That is Minecraft. Now, the sole developer of Minecraft, he goes by the name Notch. He kind of got into a predicament where he sold the company off for around the $2.5 billion, and he's kind of having a hard time like figuring out what he wants to do with his life now. I guess he's probably just retired. He's probably just kind of like putting business on the back burner, yada yada, which is totally understandable if you sell a company of that size. I also would argue that he kind of came to a crossroads where he knew that he wouldn't be able to compete with what Microsoft could do with the game. For example, I've had all my friends tell me all about things such as like a cave update, like a bee update, like pets update, like all these crazy updates that have came into the Minecraft video game. And I just do not believe that a sole developer such as Notch would be able to contend with something, for example, Microsoft. Microsoft can put a whole dev team behind the game, and they've blown Minecraft up into probably what is one of the, if not one of the three top played games today. As you can see here, it's held up there alongside the best selling games of all time like Tetris, Mario, and GTA. It was almost like the same thing with Instagram. Eventually Instagram did cater, sell to Facebook, maybe circa like 2008, 2009, I could be wrong. And for like a little over $1 billion. And now Instagram is one of the most popular social sites to date. Eventually companies get to a point where they have to sell to the bigger company because they're offered a large sum of cash, as well as they themselves, as a smaller development team, I feel like you just get to a point where you don't really know where you can take the company. And so it gets to a point where it's kind of easier to like take the cash, maybe keep some small ownership, and then just ride with that, and then just go on to the next project in your life. And I feel like that's really why smaller companies will sell to bigger companies. But as you can see here, Microsoft, they've been still on the acquisition train. LinkedIn, $26.2 billion. I know that's not gaming, but that's still very significant. GitHub, $7.5 billion. Zenimax Media. This is the media that does like the Fallout games. This is the media that did like the Elder Scrolls games. 7.5 billion for them. That's a recent acquisition in late 2020. And the most recent one is Activision Blizzard. Amidst a controversy with that company, Activision Blizzard has been going through a lot of a lot of gaming culture, employee culture controversy. The stock took a sharp decline. Shortly thereafter, Microsoft is there with the offer, 68.7 billion in cash. So as you can see, Microsoft just keeps acquiring gaming companies, and it strategically does so when these smaller companies are kind of at a point where they're at a crossroads. Notch, he was at a crossroads. He didn't really know what to do. He had an amazing offer on his hands. He was kind of like forced to take it almost. It's the same thing with Activision. When you're going through that huge culture, really scrutinizing your employee culture, really putting your company in the doghouse, and then you have this amazing like cash offer put on the table. In the long run, yeah, maybe your company is worth well more than that cash offer, but the immense amount of effort it takes to kind of like get out of those holes, like the amount of effort it would take for Notch to like really go out there, hire all the people he needs to hire to make that game what it is today, versus like Microsoft, who just had the dev team to just like do it. It just had the resources to just do it. Notch would have had to go out and as an individual garner all these things. It's just, it puts those smaller entities at a crossroads, and they have to capitulate and sell to the bigger companies. And for the past decade plus, it's been in a situation continually where a company like Tencent has continually bought up properties, IP, dev teams, you name it. Same thing with Microsoft. And they've just blown up into these big, huge gaming conglomerates that are just totally monopolizing the market. I genuinely am kind of surprised that I'm not hearing more antitrust talk with Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. They just kind of are letting them have it, and it's interesting. I really want you to be aware of how the gaming market is more and more blowing up to these two companies. Over time, it's amazing how some certain markets can monopolize. Like, you'd be surprised how one individual entity could take up a market. For example, in South Korea, the company Samsung, that's well over half of the whole South Korean stock market index in one company. So I'm just saying, like, this is certainly a trend to watch, how two companies, they can just suck up the entirety of the market. You know, you have to consider this what is 8.8 billion today on this revenue to scale? You know, this Activision Blizzard, this was a separate entity not too long ago. Now it's just acquired by Microsoft. These were all separate entities, Supercell, Riot Games, a number of years ago. But in the last decade, they've been acquired by these two gaming conglomerates. I'm going to talk about Tencent a little bit now. Now, I talked about Tencent in full in my last video. Feel free to go ahead and check that one out. But some of the most popular games are ran through Tencent, especially some of the most popular games out in the Eastern Hemisphere of the world. We're talking about Honor of the King, 200 million playing weekly, with over a quarter of those from China alone. It's really impressive numbers. As well as we got Riot Games here, one of the most popular games, and then Supercell as well. It's really easy to sit here in awe of just how large Tencent is. I break this slide down in my last video, but I really want to point out how they own Sea Limited. They own like Epic Games of Fortnite, Clash of Clans of Supercell. They do have the stake in Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, like all these big, huge gaming companies. And they also do own a lot of communications in China via WeChat Pay and WeChat, which has over 1.3 billion active users. The crazy thing is, you know, in that figure, Tencent was by far the biggest gaming company, but that's just such a small aspect of Tencent's bigger business as a whole. They are really majority a communication and social tech business, but they own so many different things in their investment portfolio. You know, they got the position in Roblox and UI, they got the position in Discord, they own 16.25% of From Software, who just released the Elden Ring video game. That was a bestseller. And the crazy thing is about Tencent is they're still continuing to make investments, even in a stock market like today that's in a huge worldwide growth slowdown. They're still not slowing up on investments. Even all the hullabaloo you might be hearing about Chinese antitrust, Tencent's still investing. They're still making international investments. They're still making local investments. I would say the big three really with Tencent are Clash of Clans, League, and Fortnite. As I said, like Legend of the King, all those things, Honor of the King, those are local games, but worldwide, these games are huge. 76 million monthly users on Clash of Clans, 180 million monthly users on League of Legends, 350 million registered users for this year in the game of Fortnite. Tencent, huge stake in all of these, massive gaming conglomerate, still continuing to make investments, still continuing to get its appendages in all different types of gaming facets of society in the world. An incredible company that just is really dominating the gaming market and really monopolizing the market right before us. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that this presentation gave you a little bit of insight onto what's happening to the gaming market, what I kind of see, the secular trend I've been seeing throughout the few years. I think this is a video that you might want to come back to maybe like once every couple years, once every year, just revisit it, just kind of like see how the gaming market's going in 2024, 2026, 2028, 2030. See what's happening with it. But if I had to make like a call right now, and this is just like me making a future way off call, I think that really having exposure to Tencent or Microsoft in your portfolio, I think if you want to be exposed to the growth that's going to come in the gaming sphere, I think a good amount of it is going to come from these two companies, as well as I feel like these are the two companies that are just so moated in as far as like the winners who are going to continue to win, where I think it's really hard to like try to bet anywhere else in the gaming sector from my point of view. I think Nintendo looks really good, but outside of that, for like the gaming sector, maybe Take-Two, all these other companies, it really just seems like Tencent and Microsoft is just like the safest individual bet because they are the winners who are just winning everything right now. Tencent winning in the East and Microsoft is dominating in the West. So, all right, hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you so much for watching.